Hi folks, in my last vlog I talked about what Qigong is and I listed a number of benefits you might be able to expect from your Qigong practice. I also very briefly introduced the concept of 3 regulations, and that's going to be the topic of today's vlog. Now, the 3 regulations are things that are going to be common to virtually every style of Qigong that you practice, so it's important that you have an understanding of what they are. Equally important to know is that not every Qigong teacher will necessarily use the phrase, the 3 regulations, when they teach you something, when they teach you a Qigong practice. But if you pay attention, you'll see that what they are teaching you, in fact, are the 3 regulations, because those are things that are required for something to actually be a Qigong. So what are the things that are regulated? What are the 3 regulations we're looking at here? We're regulating our body, we're regulating our breathing, and we're regulating our mind. Those regulations are going to happen in very different ways depending on the style and purpose of the Qigong that you're practicing, but they all have to be there in order for something to be a true and complete Qigong. We did talk about in the last vlog that Qigong is not an exercise, and in this vlog you're going to understand, hopefully by the end of the vlog, why when you're attending to the 3 regulations, you're using your body, you're using your whole being in a significantly different way than you would if you were just doing an exercise. So let's get right down to it and look first at regulating the body, what that means, and how regulating the body in Qigong is not the same thing as exercising in other ways you might be more familiar with. In any Qigong practice, the first thing that you're going to learn how to regulate is your body. That's both because it's the easiest thing to do among the 3 regulations, and because what follows is predicated upon your having learned to regulate your body fairly well in the context of whatever Qigong practice you're doing. So there can be completely stationary Qigong practices, and there can be moving Qigong practices. A stationary practice, even though you're standing completely still, requires a significant amount of regulating your body. When you're standing still, one of the things you're generally learning how to do is to align your bones so that your bones and the joint spaces between your bones are aligned in such a way that that's actually what's holding your body up. So you wind up using your muscles minimally, whether you're standing still with your arms at your sides or whether you're standing still with your arms in some other posture held up in the air. There's many different postures you might choose for a standing practice. The most neutral one, though, is just having your arms at your sides while you stand still. Now, you might understandably ask, well, what's the benefit of just standing still like that? One of the things is, as I mentioned, if you learn how to align your torso properly, the bones of your skeleton are going to line up in such a way that you're taking a significant amount of strain off of your joints. And as you learn to take strain off of your joints in a stationary standing practice, you'll become more attuned to what it feels like if your joints are out of balance in your daily life when you're moving around. So it'll give you some insight in that way, but it'll also begin the process of potentially healing any joint problems that you might have. That's a small benefit in a standing Qigong practice, but it's an important one nonetheless. Other aspects of your standing when you're doing a stationary standing practice involve, with your bones aligned just right, remember we're on a planet that has gravity, and so we're at the bottom of a gravity well. Gravity's pushing down on your body when you're standing there. Our bones are made of minerals, primarily calcium, and whenever certain minerals are put under specific types of stresses, they generate what's called a piezoelectric charge. Piezoelectricity is one component, a small component of the totality of your qi. So when you're standing in a certain posture and you have gravity pushing down on you and your bones are being stressed by the gravity, and yet they're being stressed in such a way that you do not damage your joints, you're generating a piezoelectric charge that increases the totality of your chi, increases your vital life energy. Now that piezoelectric charge around the surface of your bones, or it's called the periosteum of your bones, can change your bone density, so it can make your bones thicker and denser. That's something of significant benefit for everyone as they age. Osteoporosis is a common problem among elderly people, and you can go a long way towards preventing that just by learning how to do a stationary standing practice properly. And other aspect of standing is that you are learning how to stand still for a length of time, and in order to do that you have to let your body really relax, because otherwise you're going to become very uncomfortable. So you're learning how to recognize the earlier stages of physical stress and how to release that before it builds. That's a very valuable skill to develop, because you want to be able to discharge physical and neurological tension throughout your day, to keep your stress level down, to keep your body more relaxed and open, to prevent you from getting various types of degenerative conditions that have their basis in stress and tension. So standing in a stationary posture, you're not being distracted by having to move, you're not being distracted by listening to anything or watching anything. You're just tuning into your own body and learning how to work with it, so you can relax your musculature better, you can relax your nervous system better while you're standing in that stationary posture. So if you know that you're relaxing your nervous system, you're aware, of course, that we're wired with nerves, and nerves transmit neurological energy. Similarly, we're wired with acupuncture meridians. The meridians transmit chi in very similar ways as your nerves transmit nervous impulses. So the standing posture can help open up the meridian pathways, and while relieving potential stress and pressure on various nerves as they pass through bone openings, in your spine, in your low back, through your legs, in your arms. So we're allowing for more free flow of chi and free flow of nerve energy, which makes your body very relaxed. So while you're doing this, you're also using your mind to pay attention to how you're holding yourself in your standing posture. You're using your mind to observe if there's tension building up, if there's stress building up, and how to release it. So that's the very, very earliest stages of learning how to regulate your mind in a standing practice. There's more that we'll go into in just a little bit, but understand that your mind is involved to some degree in every stage of learning and working with the three regulations, in every stage of your Qigong practice in general. So when you're doing a moving practice, you're moving your body in ways that are designed specifically to open up energy pathways in your body, to promote chi flow through your body in certain ways that are the goal or the target of the specific Qigong practice you're doing. Every Qigong practice can have slightly to significantly different goals, so you can accomplish different things from different Qigong practices, and the movements of the Qigongs you choose are going to be integral in helping you accomplish the goal that you're working to achieve. So when you're doing a moving form, there's a lot of different things you're attending to. You're attending to how you shift your weight and how completely and fully you shift your weight from leg to leg. That's one of the things that, say, in Tai Chi helps people with balance, helps people overcome some dizziness issues that they may have as well. Shifting your weight effectively from one leg to the other in prescribed ways harmonizes the yin and the yang aspects of your body. The more active and the more passive sides, the more warming and cooling, the more internal and the more external, the more substantive, the more energetic. So all of those things are involved in harmonizing the yin and yang energies of your body, and one of the simplest ways of doing that is by getting very clear weight shifts when you're doing a moving practice that involves stepping. You can be doing a moving practice where your feet are staying still low too, and just your arms are moving, or your spine and arms are moving. Keep in mind, as we talked about just a little while ago, that you're wired with nerves and you're wired with a meridian system. And when you move that wiring through the Earth's electromagnetic field, you're also generating very specific charges in your body that amplify chi flows, that build more chi, that direct chi in certain ways, that produce specific effects in your body. So in order to understand that, let's very briefly look at the example of a very simple electric generator. If you have just a little piece of wood and you wrap copper wiring around that piece of wood, and you place a magnet around the copper wiring, so it's not physically touching the wiring at all, just the wiring is inside that magnetic field. And then at the end of the wood dowel that you have, maybe you've got it attached to a water wheel, and so water's going by and it's turning that dowel. So turning the wooden stick, the wooden dowel, turns the copper wire. As the copper wire turns through the magnetic field, it generates an electric current. Now, in an electric motor, there'll be physical points of contact with copper brushes that will be touching the copper wiring, and the brushes can have wires leaving the brushes themselves, and they can go to different appliances, different circuitry. So as the electricity gets generated, it gets shunted through those wires, and maybe it goes into a light bulb. In that case, the electricity is going to generate light. Maybe it goes to your refrigerator. In that case, it'll generate cold. Maybe it goes to a heater. In that case, it's going to generate heat. In your computer screen or your TV screen, it's going to generate visual imagery or audio content. So it's the same electricity running through simple circuitry, but going to different appliances, basically, that create different effects from the same electricity. So our bodies are wired with meridians and with nerves, and when we run that wiring through the Earth's electromagnetic field, we're generating bioelectricity, and the movements of the Qigong that you're practicing itself go towards directing that bioelectricity to certain aspects of your body for the purpose that Qigong is designed to accomplish. So it can be a lot of different things, just like the same electricity can generate light or heat or motion in the case of a fan, wind in the case of a fan also. Qi running through your body, whether it primarily goes through your spleen meridian or your lung meridian or your stomach meridian, or combinations of numbers of different meridians, or maybe just the surface of your body also, is going to have different effects. And those effects are going to define what that Qigong's particular goal or objective is. So you do different styles of Qigong to achieve different goals, and regulating your body is one significant component of the three regulations that bring you to that particular goal. This is why in my previous vlog I mentioned that I'd like to actually help you in selecting the type of Qigong that's going to suit your needs best. So if you understand that there are Qigongs that are designed to do different things, your particular goals, your particular needs might be best served by learning a particular style of Qigong over another style of Qigong. Every Qigong is going to be beneficial. Some may be best suited for you in particular at this point in your life. So that's a little about regulating the body. Regulating the breath involves two main components. The first is how you actually breathe. There's a number of different breathing styles. The two most common are natural breathing and reverse breathing. Natural breathing is by far the most common. It's the one that most people use. And that basically involves when you inhale, your entire abdomen expands. And when you exhale, your entire abdomen shrinks. And your chest doesn't move. That's unusual for most people, because when most people want to take a deep breath, they'll lift their chest, and that's how they feel they've actually taken a deep breath. When you learn breathing that's associated with most Qigong practices, you're breathing into your belly, into your midriff, into your sides, into your low back, and you eventually learn to breathe into your upper back, so your lungs fully inflate, but you don't move your chest. And there are reasons for that we don't need to go into right now, but that is how you breathe. Now, when you're doing a stationary Qigong practice, most of the time you're only concerned with how you breathe. So I said there's two aspects to breathing. The second aspect is the breathing pattern that you use to match the Qigong practice that you're doing. In some styles of Qigong, you can breathe pretty much in any pattern you want and still get the benefit of the Qigong. In most styles of Qigong, you match your breathing to be coordinated with the physical movement that you're doing. In a stationary or quiescent Qigong, like I said, though, generally you're just concerned with getting your breath to fully expand your abdomen and contracting your abdomen on the exhalations. There are other aspects to regulating your breath, even in how you breathe, and those things would be related to how coarse or how fine your breath is, how long your breath is, how silent your breath is, how continuous your breath is. All of those things are involved in breathing as it's practiced in Qigong. And all of those breathing components will do things like allow you to extract more qi and more oxygen from the air that's surrounding you, and also to direct that atmospheric qi along with the oxygen to your internal organs. By breathing this way, where you expand your abdomen on the inhalations and you let your abdomen retract on the exhalations, you're actually massaging all your internal organs. So you're helping to remove toxic accumulation in your organs without necessarily having to do a dietary detox, which is not a bad thing to do, but this is a different way of doing that, while you're commensurately bringing in more healthy blood with more nutrients, with more oxygen, so your organs function better that way just from how you breathe. When you're doing a moving Qigong and you're patterning your breathing to the physical movement, you're still breathing, you're still doing the how you breathe, you're still doing Taoist natural breathing or some type of natural breathing where everything expands on the inhalation and contracts on the exhalation, but you're simultaneously pacing that with the movements that you're doing. And that enhances and facilitates qi flow in the ways that the movements themselves are designed to move qi, like we talked about just in the regulation of the body. So regulating the breath is another step towards creating a greater qi benefit, qi result, qi outcome from your qigong practice. So that's regulating the body, regulating the breath. And again, while you're learning how to do natural breathing, and then while you're learning how to pattern your breath in accordance with the Qigong you're practicing, you're also using your mind to do that. So that's another entry-level step, in a sense, towards regulating your mind. When I first teach people a Qigong set or Qigong practice, a lot of people say they have a hard time keeping track of regulating their body, keeping track of if you're doing movements for a certain number of repetitions. They can have trouble keeping track of the numbers of repetitions, or they may have trouble keeping track of syncing their breathing to those movements with those repetitions. And I point out to them that this is the very simplest and earliest stages of regulating your mind. So you kind of have to get the regulation of the body and the regulation of the breath working fairly well before you can expect to more significantly regulate your mind. So when you regulate your mind, which is the third regulation in the three regulations, you're going to be much more strongly and actively influencing what you're doing with your qi. because it's the combination of regulating your body, regulating your breath, and regulating your mind that most strongly influences the way you move your qi and what actually is making you do a complete qigong. You can be regulating your body by itself and get some qi benefit. You can be regulating your breath by itself and get fairly substantial qi benefit. When you combine the regulation of the body and the breath, you're getting even more qi benefit, but you're not yet doing a complete qigong until you regulate your mind. And when you regulate your body, breath, and mind, that's when you cross over into directly regulating your qi. Some qigong teachers will further subdivide regulating the mind into regulating your emotions, regulating your intellectual processes, regulating your spirit. All of those are certainly valid, and they're just more parsing out of how you're regulating your mind. All of those things basically come under the category of regulating your mind, because your mind does encompass your emotional experience, your intellectual experience, and farther down the road, psychic and spiritual experiences you may have. Those are things that for a lot of people might not be of any interest early on. You might strictly want to be working on improving your health, increasing your longevity, and then maybe farther down the road you might get interested in those other aspects of higher regulations of the mind. But you're still regulating the mind when you're doing simpler things like that. So once you're regulating your body and regulating your breath, I told you how in both of those things increase the amount of qi that you have available to work with. So that makes it easier, because there's more qi there, for your mind to actually start to sense your qi, to feel your qi, because it is your mind that has to directly perceive your qi ultimately, and it's your mind that will facilitate or amplify the direction of the qi that the particular qigong practice you're doing is intended to do. So you want to ultimately be able to use your mind to sense your qi and to move your qi in very specific ways. And so when you're regulating your body and your breath and your mind, you have a complete qigong, and you have the best foundation for really regulating your qi directly. So that's, in essence, that's what the three regulations are about. And all of that, the three regulations, all of those components have to be there for you to be doing a complete qigong. If you only have one or two of those components, you still can be getting substantial qi benefit, health benefit, physical benefit, and to some degree mental, emotional benefit too. But it's not a complete qigong until you have all three coordinated, regulating your body, regulating your breath, regulating your mind. So that, in a sort of large nutshell, is what is involved in the three regulations. I hope you've enjoyed this vlog. I hope you've learned some things. I hope it's helpful for you. Feel free to get in touch with me if you have any questions, and I'll look forward to seeing you a little farther down the road. Bye for now.